Navigating the vast and ever-evolving world of horror subgenres can be a bit daunting, especially considering how many independent hidden gems are out there, and everything you have to sift through to find one.
This is going to be extremely painful.
Generally, horror subgenres range from the traditional psychological thriller, gory slasher, and grotesque body horror all the way to the more obscure boundary-pushing edges of splatter and torture porn, which are almost just extensions of the broader body horror subgenre. Again, slight nuance differentiates a lot of these and branch out from the subgenre itself into more specific tastes. But out of all of these, there is one that stands out for its versatility, creativity, and consistent delivery of a uniquely colorful experience: the horror anthology. Anthology films are nothing new, as evidenced by such classics as Dan Curtis's 1975 Trilogy of Terror, or Stephen King and George A. Romero's 1982 Creepshow, but recently seen a huge spike in popularity with audiences. Over the past decade, a variety of anthology-style horror films have been released, giving horror fans everywhere delightfully ghoulish, bite-sized vignettes of fun. From more well-known and mainstream releases such as VHS, Field Guide to Evil, XX, Books of Blood, and the Mortuary Collection, to more obscure hidden gems such as Tales of Halloween, The Dark Tapes, Scare Package, Bad Candy, Trick or Treat, Patient 7, Southbound, The Witching Season, and Scary or Die. Each of these films offers a variety of clever and entertaining short entries that are sure to be a hit with any horror fan. The directors are usually those with no other desire than to make fun and entertaining horror simply because they love the genre, and their passion is apparent in many nods, Easter eggs, and self-aware tropes they bring to the screen for all of us horror fans to enjoy time and time again. These films also vary in their presentation style. Some feature found footage, others use a host or narrator to present the films, and then there are those who utilize a wraparound situation or character that ties the whole presentation together. This is Anthology Annex, where we dive deep into anthologies of all shapes and sizes. If you love anthology films, make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on all of our videos. The anthology we want to talk about today comes from the Grey House Entertainment and premiered at Death by Festival on October 28, 2017. There are 3 installments, with the most recent premiering this September 30th on streaming platforms. So get ready for even more fun with part 3 of the 1031 series by PJ Starks, the multi-talented Rocky Gray, and Richard Stringham. Just in time for Halloween. You're in for an early treat with 5 more tales from directors Michael Baliff, Jacob Perrette, Brad Twigg, and Zane Hershberger, with a great soundtrack provided by Rocky Gray. Before we discuss the newest edition, however, let's look back on the first 2 to refresh our memories on why this series is just so much fun. Featuring 6 deliciously spooky stories, the tales are connected through the narration and presentation of Malvolia, the Queen of Screams.
I have a special sweet treat just for you. I went down.
There's nothing more fun than watching a late-night horror show presenter telling campy jokes and hilariously cheesy puns. Here's looking at you, Crypt Keeper, while guiding us through some short spooky tales or vintage B-movie madness. That's exactly why it would have been fun to see more of the gothic beauty Malvolia, Queen of Screams, on screen in general.
You're still here?
Alas, she only appears in the introduction and doesn't come back around until the end to wrap things up. If there would be one complaint, we'd say we wanted more of Malvolia sprinkled throughout the lineup, being spooky and quirky in an iconic Elvira-esque fashion. The Old Hag, directed by Justin M. Seaman. Get your sleep paralysis demon a snack, because this one you'll want to watch together. This is the story of two young, ambitious filmmakers hired by the owner of a quaint bed and breakfast to shoot a commercial advertisement for her business.
Well, I could pay you in advance.
However, one half of the duo begins to suspect something isn't quite right with the place. Because, of course, it's not. I mean, is it ever?
Yeah, hopefully it was that beautiful money shot I was showing you. What?
The atmosphere serves up plenty of chills with solid performances from Nick Edwards, Mitchell Mussolino, and Cindy Maples.
I'm gonna go fix my face and make another pot of coffee.
The creature design was suitably creepy looking with a decent makeup prosthetics. We didn't see the twist at the end coming, so that made this short even more enjoyable. Trespassers, directed by Zane Hirschberger. Trespassers follows a curious couple on a first date.
Yeah, but of all first date films, this had to be the worst one I could have picked.
It's Halloween, so they're looking for adventure.
What are we doing exactly?
Something scary for Halloween, I told you, remember?
Jeff, played by Chad Bruns, is new in town, and his date Stephanie, or Sable Greedle, relays to him the tale of a local farm reputedly haunted, where decades earlier the farmer went insane and massacred his entire family with an axe. It's said to have something to do with a creepy-looking scarecrow that was put up on the land.
This is the reason why we're here.
It's kind of weird being face to face with it, isn't it? Knowing this guy is sort of responsible for the Martin massacre.
Observant horror fans will pick up on all the subtle nods to 80s and 90s horror tropes, including the melodramatic acting at certain points and over-the-top kills. This segment is fun, and there's some entertaining banter between the characters, whose actors boast strong performances.
You know, I'm starting to think our ideas of fun are slightly different.
I never said fun.
Killing the Dance, John William Holt.
The doors are locked and it's time to get wicked. Ooh.
Director John William Holt serves up a nostalgia-inducing treat, which is, in our opinion, the most fun out of all the films. It's got everything: roller skates, glitter, a crush, a good soundtrack, a deformed mute boy, a psychotic mother, and a teen girl just trying to survive her shift on Halloween night at the roller rink, while at the same time babysitting her younger, nonverbal brother named Mikey.
Hey, Mikey, heard a lot about you, buddy.
AIDS, baby.
The main character is having a fling with what looks like to be the rink's star roller skater, the two exchanging glances and fleeting touches as she soars around the rink, glitter-painted eyes sparkling beneath the disco lights. We love the ambient feel of the story. It's trippy, playing out like a dream, with long tracking shots that soar around the rink and a psychedelic color palette, lending mood and atmosphere. At first, we were so wrapped up in how great the film itself looked that we weren't sure exactly where it was going, but at the same time, the tension building was well done. The ending is a surprising twist and nod to Friday the 13th, complete with a deformed kid, psychopathic mother hell-bent on revenge, and a final girl.
Thanks for skating Kingsway.
The Halloween Blizzard of '91, Brett DeJager. Admittedly, this is our least favorite of the segments, and only because of the ending and stylistic choices that we found a little confusing. There's a lot going on here. Basically, it's Halloween night, but due to an unusual snowstorm, trick-or-treating has been canceled. One family is visited by 3 small costumed children intent on making mischief on Halloween anyway. These characters are the most enjoyable part of this installment, with their creepy screeching voices and odd behavior as they harass the family for treats. There's also a visit from a jealous Santa Claus. But the ending was a bit unclear to me, and we found ourselves slightly confused by some choppy editing and an ending that well, didn't quite feel wrapped up.
P.S. John went trick-or-treating with his new friends.
However, it was an interesting premise, and I'd like to see explored further with more concrete ideas for execution. The Sam Hain slasher, Rocky Gray. Peter McNeely, played by Greg Fallon, is having reoccurring nightmares. His daughter Mary gets ready to go to a Halloween party.
They call it the Devil's Night for a reason.
And while she does this, we see that both Mary and her father have ignored warnings about an escaped murderer in the area. This is a fun story, moody and atmospheric, blending some supernatural elements with slasher tropes. There's gore, pulsing bass filled with electronica music, a seance gone wrong, and innocent partygoers graphically eviscerated by a masked killer. It's a little unclear at certain points where this one was going, and the ending felt a little incomplete, but it was still a fun tale with excellent special effects and performances from the cast. The soundtrack to this one is especially enjoyable, thanks to Rocky Gray. 1031 Part 2, 2019. Opening this second volume are some really funny and entertaining faux trailers for horror films. These include Treaters by Zane Hershberger, Truck Squatch by John Hale III, The Candy Taker by Robert Lanphier,
Swamp Lady's got boobs,
and The October Kids by Brett DeJager. Once again, we are treated to an opener with goth princess Malvolia, Queen of Screams.
It is I, Malvolia, the Queen of Screams. Remember me?
A Sam Hain liturgy, Tori Van Buskirk. Another unfortunate babysitter falls victim to the wiles of Halloween night as she watches over a strange boy called Tommy. Tommy likes to sit in his room and make creepy papier-mâché masks, and, knowing his love for scary movies, she bribes Tommy with one to distract him while she spends time with her oblivious death metal-obsessed boyfriend.
This baby from work? Cannibalistic humanoid from Detroit.
And as they listen to the boyfriend's demo tape of his black metal band, they suddenly start to hear noises in the basement. Of course, they investigate, and just like a good horror movie characters, they fail to recognize the imminent danger growling at them from a dark corner.
That's no raccoon.
By the end, both parties have uncovered a sinister plot and twisted ritual that they're now unwilling participants in.
I always knew you were special. This is your birthright. Where you're going is going to be so much better than this shithole of an earth.
But we have to admit, the ending twist was not really something that was expected. Deadlift, Stephen Wolf. This segment is a slow burn, but it pays off in the end. A disillusioned rideshare driver is working Halloween night, despite protests from his girlfriend who really wishes he would loosen up. But the poor guy just has bills to pay and needs the extra money.
Is a mindset, Jeremy.
All right, well, tomorrow's the first, and I can't pay bills with a mindset, so it's the road for me.
Through notes to himself, we find that he has recently been struggling with his mental health and has been quite depressed. After promising to meet up with her at a party later, he's approached by an older, sallow-looking man in a Dracula costume.
Good evening.
What plays out next is a clever verbal cat and mouse between the driver and this mysterious passenger. The dialogue is surprisingly well written. Instead of the usual vapid filler found in a lot of horror films, a tense conversation unfolds. They discuss monsters. I want to think that the monster here is perhaps a metaphor for the monsters that can haunt our own brains in the form of mental illness. Like a vampire can suck us dry of our desires, dreams, and hopes. There are Excellent performances in this piece by both Tim Robinson and Andy Palmer, and the lighting choices set a beautiful mood for this eerie, tension-filled ride through monster madness.
Greetings. You listen to me.
Sugar?
Apache Hatchet Massacre, Max Groa. It's just what it sounds like, and intentionally campier than a weekend at Camp Crystal Lake itself.
Who wants to hear a scary story?
A Native American artifact that's been dug up by researchers, one of whom is in a lab coat, and it's too funny. Stirs a vengeful spirit, while in a nearby cabin, unwitting campers are just about to celebrate Halloween. This purposefully wacky B-movie installment had us giggling throughout, and we found it quite enjoyable. The amount of tongue-in-cheek humor and uses of cliché tropes is a delightful comic relief.
There's no fucking phone in the cabin!
The actors really sell the hysteria, and it helps add to the over-the-top character of the story. And there's plenty of fun gore to top off the creative kills. After all, we would expect nothing less from the director of 2017's Bong of the Living Dead, Max Groa. Overkill, Drew Maverick. We absolutely adored this short. In fact, it might be our favorite out of all three films. Horror fans will love the clever allusions to slasher tropes and thoroughly enjoy this comical, over-the-top tale of competing murderers.
Oh shit.
It starts with two young boys arguing over how to best make mischief on this Halloween night. They resort to ding-dong ditching and egging houses.
Get up there and ring the doorbell, Jesus.
Meanwhile, two psychopathic killers happen to be stalking the same sexy babysitter played by the beautiful Anastasia Elfman and have a lengthy confrontation about who has to claim her fate.
Got here first. I am first. And she is mine.
The juxtaposition in this killer duo is awesome. One is the silent, tall, hulking maniac with a hockey mask and butcher knife. Nods to both Myers and Voorhees. The other is the BTK-looking type killer we've been familiar with in the real world. Geeky glasses, collared shirts, khakis, talks way too much, and is highly upset by the presence of this clearly physically superior menace that's there to steal his kill. They watch the girl in her skimpy nurse costume dance around the room, while our more nerdy killer makes a passionate plea to this intruder to let him have his kill. It's self-aware with funny dialogue and a clever premise. Bravo to Drew Maverick, director of Pool Part Massacre, for this lovable, clever Halloween treat.
Do you guys know where that high school party is?
Proving itself to be another highlight in this anthology is Tori Van Buskirk's Sister Mary. It's sort of a Rosemary's Baby on acid, with elements of Roman Polanski's 1965 Repulsion, in that it focuses on a young woman struggling between loyalty to her faith or her ability to pursue her more carnal desires. The character slowly unravels before us, and a sympathetic performance by Phyllis Spielman as the vulnerable Mary really sells the story. This segment actually brings back our lovable mask-making Tommy from the first film. That's one of my favorite anthology techniques, where the films involved are seemingly unrelated, but connected by little Easter eggs and wraparound characters to hint that these stories all take place in the same universe. Complete with a brutal ending, Sister Mary finishes off this anthology with a bang, or a stab, whichever you prefer. 1031 Part 3, 2023. Once again, we open with some fun, over-the-top faux trailers. The Slaughter by Sean Burkett. Night of the Halloweenies by Jonathan Patrick Hughes. Candy Killer by Dustin Ferguson.
Attention! If anyone is out there, please send help. We are under attack. Please send help.
Radio Tower Road by Jed Bryan. And A Stranger's Treat by Rocky Gray. We really liked this touch in the second one, and I'm glad they used it again. I think it gives the directors a real chance to just go crazy and do whatever they want and make it hilarious, and they certainly do. House of the Mummy, Michael Bolliff.
On Halloween night, the mummy comes for your soul.
Michael Bolliff delivers a delightfully fun segment with a moody atmosphere and solid performances. You're reminded of Steven Spielberg's amazing stories, of which we have fond memories of watching as kids. Even though the two stories are entirely different, I think it came to mind because it occurred to me that we don't utilize this particular classic movie monster enough, so it was really awesome to see the Mummy make a comeback here for this tale. Michael Bolliff is responsible also for another of our favorite horror anthologies called The Witching Season, and seems to deliver a solid story each and every time we see his ideas on screen. James Morris from They Live Inside Us, incidentally also a Michael Bolliff short, brings sympathetic quality throughout this thoughtful portrayal of Wes, a man who's been dumped by his rather whiny, frigid girlfriend, Caitlin, played by Emily Ashby. You can't help but feel for the poor guy as things just keep going wrong for him, and he's really struggling with his self-worth when he comes across a decorative mummy prop at a resale shop. This mummy is a perfect addition to his collection as he reveals plans to open a haunted attraction out of his house. But this prop proves to be something more sinister than he could have imagined. The Locksmith, Jacob Perrett. An evil presence stalks a couple in their newly bought home. There's some beautiful camera work and lighting choices which make for an awesome aesthetic, but we found the story a bit confusing. But in the end, we had been so wrapped up in the look of it and its moody attitude, I thoroughly enjoyed watching it anyway. Old Man Gross, Brad Twigg. This story was admittedly not the strongest installment. However, we think a lot of the problem is not in the script itself, as there's some actually funny jokes and lines that made us chuckle several times. But there is a lack of convincing delivery by the actors who seem too old to be cast in the roles of mischief-making young people. You don't believe that they're teens, and they weren't supposed to be teens. Their characters were far too childlike to be taken seriously as adults.
This was such a dumb idea.
Yeah, all of Cody's ideas are dumb.
There's too much talking, not enough showing. However, with that being said, it was an interesting concept and had potential to be a great time. Would like to see this redone with a different cast and maybe better directional choices. As our characters exchange stories of a sadistic, evil shop teacher their parents had as kids, they decide to explore the legend further and investigate whom they refer to as Old Man Gross at his home, armed with a bag of dog shit. Of course, this turns out to be a decision they would later regret. Even though the idea felt somewhat underdeveloped, there's still some well-done gore and practical effects that prove noteworthy. Hack in the Box, Zane Hirschberger, music by Rocky Gray. Women can be so nosy. Why can't we just leave things be? It's not like we don't have enough going on, so we do things like get together with our friends and play with an evil jack-in-the-box, because that is productive and guaranteed to turn out well every time. The women in this final chapter find out the hard way that if something is off limits, perhaps it's for a reason. You probably shouldn't mess with it. This segment is so short that you can't say much more without spoiling the rest. You're going to have to just trust us when we say Zane Hershberger's entry makes a fun and bloody closer to this entertaining final installment of 1031. All in all, the 1031 Trilogy's strengths lie in its self-awareness, special effects, and top-notch score from Rocky Gray. It's fun and entertaining and not too serious. It doesn't pretend to be something it's not, and a lot of times does a brilliant job of poking fun at B-movie cliches and horror tropes. There's lots of mood and atmosphere, and plenty of throwback references. However, I hope to see more of Malvolia in the future. Playing her part as a late-night horror host, and a few of the segments seem to lack in the performance category.
Until then, pleasant nightmares.
Some of the ideas were properly fleshed out, needing a little more development. We would also have liked to see a wider variety of ideas expressed throughout the three films, instead of feeling like the directors were asked to recycle previous ideas. We know these directors have it in them, so it would be interesting to see more from these guys in the future. That being said, this trilogy has heart, and you can tell the creators are hardcore horror fanatics, doing what they love and bringing original scares to the big screen. Overall, despite its flaws, this series is thoroughly enjoyable, especially for a Halloween movie marathon with drinks, snacks, and friends. Part 3 of 1031 is available to stream on Kings of Horror. Stay spooky.